Hi friends, and welcome back to the Rice the Art-Holic Podcast. If we haven't met yet, my name is April Chai, and I'm the professional artist behind Rice the Art-Holic. This is a space where we talk about creativity, connection, community, and whatever else happens to be on my mind. So with that being said, this is episode 5, and let's get into today's conversation, the self-taught artist. If you've had a conversation with an artist and you ask them how they learn their skills, most probably say, I'm a self-taught artist. And I've even found myself to say that very, very often. But then I got to thinking, that's actually a confusing way to say it, self-taught, because what does that really mean? The Webster Dictionary says that the definition of being self-taught is having knowledge or skills acquired by one's own effort without formal introduction, or learned by oneself. So that means that you were not told by another person, or that you were not taught through a video, through any type of mentorship or teaching in person or online. So then I thought about it. Every person, including myself, who has ever said, I'm a self-taught artist, is that really true? Are you really a fully self-taught artist? Or is it more complex than that? Because that would mean that you've never had any teachers. That means that you never did any workshops, you never did any extra classes, you never watched YouTube videos or took online courses either. Personally, I believe that most artists are a combination of formally trained and self-taught. Because if you have attended kindergarten through high school graduation and you did public schools or maybe even private schools, most places are going to have you go through an art class or two. That's where you at least learn the basics, you learn about the color wheel, you learn how to use a pencil, how to use different mediums. But with the definition of what self-taught is, doesn't that mean that kindergarten through 12th grade, if you've ever had any type of art training in that period, doesn't it mean that you've had formal training, so you are no longer self-taught if you've at least had that type of education? And then there is the extra art classes you can take, whether it's in the kindergarten through 12th grade or outside of school, or it's a college education in an art degree. I think the biggest reason why people say self-taught is because the opposite or the other option would be formal training. And when we think of formal training, we are thinking of a college education. We're thinking of that type of formal education where you graduate with an art degree. I've always been curious to know how many artists go through a college art program and get the degree and actually do something with it. So I did some research. According to the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, in the 2024 research where they were looking at where do artists work, exploring the careers of art graduates in Illinois and the US, they found that many working artists do have a degree and many don't. In this study, about 20% of art graduates are even working artists. That means 80% of the people who went through the whole art program, who thought that they were going to get a creative career after they go through all of that, it doesn't happen. So then I was also curious, how many working artists actually have a degree? So according to the NORC at the University of Chicago, they reported that 77.93% of artists in the US had no art-related degree. So I found those statistics very interesting, and it gave me a lot of hope as an artist, and I hope it gives you hope if you are an artist who is aspiring to be a professional artist or to grow your business even more than where it's at right now. Because it's proof that an art degree is not necessarily an easy, straight path to a career in art. And when I have conversations about my art business, my art skills, my experience, I tell people I don't have an art degree, I don't have any degree, but I have been creating and selling artwork for over a decade. And when I tell people that, some people look down on me, and some people don't take my art business as seriously because they think that degree means something more than the experience that I have. And once upon a time, I used to believe all of that too. But now, as a working artist, as a professional artist, and looking at this data especially, it has made me realize that it is not necessary to have a degree to have a career in a creative field. And not only do I believe that it's not necessarily necessary for a creative field, I also believe that we are sold this lie, this dream for what it actually is. It's sold as this dream that once you go through this whole program, you'll know what to do, you'll know where to go, you'll be able to find a career, you'll be so happy with that creative career that you wanted to go into in the first place. But there's a lot more to it than just going to college. But when we're kids, that's as simple as they make it. Go to college, get the degree, get the job. But they don't talk about all the in-between. So I'd like to share a little bit about my personal experience, and maybe some of you might also find some things that relate to your experience as an artist, or maybe even in a different field too, because a self-taught artist can really be applied to any profession. You can be self-taught, quote unquote, but really you were taught by other people. And you were probably sold a dream that is going to be easy, that this is a straightforward path. And then once you got on the path, it's not as easy or as clear as you thought it was going to be. So for my artist story, I feel like it starts off pretty basic, pretty normal. I went through K through 12th grade in public schools, and I did kind of transition from school to school to school until 4th grade, and stayed there until high school graduation. So 4th grade through high school graduation, that school only had 2 art teachers. Not only that, but the art programs were almost constantly being threatened to be taken away, especially during my high school years, which was really, really sad. And I was only able to do art or music by a certain point. I really like to do both, and I wanted to do both, but art was a very obvious choice. So I had 2 teachers in that whole school for that whole time. And though I have learned things from them, I do believe learning from only a limited amount of people also limits you. Though that's not something that I really realized at that time, I realize that now as an adult and how much I lacked in knowledge of art after I graduated. When I was still in high school, I talked with my counselor, tried to figure out what was my career going to be. Obviously, I wanted to do something creative, something in art, and I had a few ideas. When I was really, really young, I wanted to be a teacher. Then I scrapped that idea because I didn't want to be responsible for just kids all the time. And so then I realized I might want to do nail design art, like be a nail tech. Then I was, nope. Don't want to do that. Don't really like touching people too much. Maybe makeup design. Then my dreams got crushed because people were telling me that that's not going to happen. That's hard to do. You're not going to make anything. It's just going to fail. It's going to fall apart. You're not going to be able to find a place to be able to learn all those skills, blah, blah, blah. All of the negative things that people tell you when they are scared of what could happen, of what the possibilities could be, because they can't fathom it in their head. And that's okay. But I didn't know that at that time, and I let those voices that they had repeat in my own head and be my own voice. So I said, okay, I'm not going to do that. And then I considered doing video game design. Okay, so that's what I was going to do because I love video games, I love art. Let's combine the two. Have to do something that's, realistic and what everybody says that's not going to be a starving artist role. So I applied to an art college that was an all-online art college. I did my research. I loved the programs. I was super excited and I got accepted. I was just so beyond pumped for my future. I could see all the things happening, and then the tuition. Yeah, it was too much. I couldn't do it. My parents couldn't do it, and my dreams got crushed immediately, thinking that I had to go to college to pursue a creative field, to be a professional artist, to do something with my art skills and love it. It just made me give up. And then after graduation, I did create art. I sold some things here and there, some originals and commissions occasionally, but I worked non-art related jobs. Full-time non-art related jobs, so I had very little to no time to even create. And I did that because I believed those voices. I believed everybody who's close to me even, who said that it's impossible, that it's not gonna happen. I have to be realistic and get something that is safe, quote unquote, safe. But to me, it's not safe. To me, it's not reliable. To me, those jobs aren't something I can thrive in, because if I don't have passion behind what I do, I'm probably not going to want to do it for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. But painting, creating art, helping people to create and feel confident about their own skills, I love that. That is what I am passionate about. And it took me some time to realize that that was the case. And that was why I was having a hard time really loving a lot of the other works, especially when I was working in factories or warehouses. It's just not the place for me. There were some roles where I did have some creative freedom, or I was able to use my creativity in some ways, and I cherished every moment I could use my creativity. Then one day I quit one of my full-time non-art jobs, and I decided to dive right into video game design, but all on my own. I used Udemy to be able to purchase courses to learn video game design. I actually did create my own little mini game. It was kind of pointless. You just kind of go around, collect keys to open up doors. There was these bad guys that would just walk around, and I designed everything on every floor, the character and everything else. But it was very blocky. It was not the greatest quality, but it was still something that I created from what I learned on my own. And it was the beginning of me realizing I don't necessarily need a degree. If I wanted to pursue it, I could have kept going with it. I learned some coding, I learned how to do all of that, and I realized I didn't really love the coding. And I also realized when I did more research about what the role actually entailed, that I might not love and thrive in the environment that is video game designing. It sounds great, and I love video games and I love art, but I don't know if I love the combination of the two and having the pressure to create art that isn't necessarily my own, that isn't styles that is my own, that I have to do repetitively sometimes, or that I have to make tweaks that I don't really want to do. I like having control over my art in the way that I like to do it, and that just was not the career that I saw myself in when I really considered it. So after that was a no-go, I didn't know what else I was going to do in my creative field. I was selling artwork, not consistently, but on and off for over 10 years. And I knew that I could still sell my commissions. I could still have my originals be sold, and I still love doing that. And I was even selling my originals and commissions while I was doing non-art related jobs. But it wasn't until about mid-2025, so last year, when I finally realized and decided I'm gonna actually dive back into my art business, take it seriously, and do this professionally, really take it seriously. And if I don't take it seriously, if I don't take myself seriously, consider myself a professional, take my business as an actual business serious, no one else will. And why should they? And that's also the attitude that I tell other people when I talk to them about their small businesses. If you have a small business and you are making an income, own it. Say you have a small business. Yeah, you are self-employed, but you own that business and you run it yourself. There's a lot of pride in that because there's a lot to it. People might not understand that, but other business owners, we get it. And we also recognize that confidence. So taking myself seriously and considering myself an actual professional artist meant that I have consistent commissions, that I post daily on social media, that I overcame internal limiting beliefs and fears that I had for myself. These fears were based around me reaching out and creating opportunities for myself, or just putting myself out there in the first place. A very common fear that a lot of people have, and one of the biggest things that holds people back. Being a professional and taking myself seriously also meant having stronger discipline and determination. It means that I make sure I absolutely work 40 to 50 hours a week. But not just working those hours, making sure I have focused time that is actually productive, not just busy work, actually productive time. And that took me time to figure out how to have 40 hours of really focused time that was productive and got me moving, got my business moving. Because if you run a business, you know how easy it is to just sit there and make something or do something to keep yourself busy, thinking you're being productive, but it doesn't really move anything. It doesn't make anything happen sooner. It doesn't get it to reach out to people more. It doesn't do anything except for completing a task. And to be honest, it took me months to figure that out and how to change from being busy to being productive. If that is something that you're interested in hearing more about how I actually did that, let me know in the comments that you want to hear more about that, and maybe I'll talk about that more in the next podcast. Right now, I am a full-time artist. I am working the 40 to 50 hours a week on my art business, and that is a variety of different things that I do. My art business is still growing, but now I can actually use that income and help with bills and pay for things to put it back into my business so that I can grow my business more. My following also grows every month or every week, sometimes every day, depending on how much I've been posting, what I've been posting. My confidence as an artist and as a professional grows every single day. Even if I'm not actively doing commissions or work that is being paid, I'm always doing something to better myself, better my business, or think about the experience for the collectors and my clients first and foremost. So what changed from the girl who graduated and thought all of her dreams were crushed to now the full-time artist who has the confidence to make this podcast and tell you guys how to do your own art business too? It's because I went from very little me, kindergarten through about 8th grade, saying, I want to be an artist. I want to do something creative. I want to do something fun. I want to do something with my skills. And knowing that I could do that, knowing that it's possible, to then growing up a little bit more and then realizing, oh my gosh, everybody's probably right. I'm probably not going to be able to be an artist. Artists starve. I've seen others start to starve, right? Like I've seen people struggle and they're artists. So that's probably going to happen to me if I tried to do it. So I will just play it safe. And then from that to actually, I know people struggle, but that also might be for so many different reasons. I can also see all these people thriving, and I could see how they did it, and I could see it took time, determination, it took a lot of effort on their part. I can see myself getting there, getting to where I am dreaming myself to be. I can see what is possible, and I know that I need to take action to create opportunities, and the opportunities aren't going to just appear for me. I just have to make those opportunities, and I'm excited to make those opportunities happen. So the thing that really changed is the mindset. Originally, little April thought she was capable of anything, literally anything. Then as I was growing up, people got into my head and beat my dreams to the ground. And that happens so often. I didn't realize how much it was, how my dream just disappeared. But it has taken me a series of many things to get me to the point now where I have a similar belief to what little April had, where I believe anything is really possible if I really put my mind to it. I can envision it, but actually, what I envision, the dreams I have now, they're even bigger and better than anything little April could have been able to dream up back then. Because now I know so many more opportunities that are possible. I know that I can do so many more things, that I am capable of it. And the only thing that's stopping me is myself. I also stopped blaming the lack of art education, which is me not being able to go through with the art college. And I just did the thing. I just did it anyways. Even though I didn't have a college degree, I still sold my artwork. Even though I still felt like an imposter, I still sold my artwork. I still called myself a professional artist. And the fake it till you make it saying is not really that you're faking it, it's that you feel like you are fake. You feel like you are faking it. But really, I wasn't faking anything. I knew what I was doing. People were hiring me for a service that they knew what they were getting. So what was I faking? The only thing I was faking was my confidence. And that is something you build over time. That is one of the pieces that got me to that mindset shift that I have now. I also started to ask myself, what are my strengths and my weaknesses where I am right now? The strengths, the things that set me up for success, those are the things that I leaned into. One of my strengths was painting people and pets. Though I still had some skills I needed to improve on in that area, that was a service that was one of my biggest services over the past 10 years. Another one of my strengths, the things that set me up for success, was I already have a lot of people who I'm close to who are excited to hear that I'm selling artwork, that I'm painting again, to support me with my business, or just support me by telling people about it too. Now, some weaknesses or some setbacks that I had, like admitting to myself that though I understood color theory, I could think of the color wheel in my head and I know the complementary colors with the primary and secondary colors, all of those things, I still didn't have the strongest capabilities when it came to color theory. I also realized and admitted to myself that my painting was not efficient. I would spend way too long on a single painting, on a single spot, on a single detail, and I wanted to be faster, more efficient for myself and for my clients so that I can create more, so that I could be more reliable for myself and everyone else. And then lastly, one of my other weaknesses was that I had some limiting fears. I know I mentioned it earlier, but it was a really big weakness that I had. Something that stopped me from creating opportunities was being fearful of reaching out and doing all of that and creating those opportunities myself. So after looking at my strengths and weaknesses, what did I do? I decided that temporarily I was going to stop doing bigger paintings. In the past, I was doing 8 by 10, 10 by 10, 10 by 12, or even 16 by 20 usually was the biggest ones that I did. And the 16 by 20s, oh my goodness, it would take me at least 10 to 12 hours for a single painting. The 8 by 10s, I've worked on one for 15 hours. And looking back at that now, yikes, that is way too much time to be spending on a single painting, especially ones of those sizes. So it was mandatory that I condense my skills and I make them smaller so that I was able to excel my skills in efficiency a lot faster. That meant that I opened up my tiny portrait services. Those are the 2.5 by 3.5 inch portraits. So it's this size, if you're able to see on the video. This isn't a portrait, it's just a landscape painting I made at the lake, but it is this size, 2.5 by 3.5 inches. This size allows you to create a lot faster. It allows you to understand things a lot faster without having a big space to cover. I also started them very, very low. I believe they started only at $25 for the portraits, but now they're at least $75. I started it off as studies and then I transitioned it to an actual service because it was very popular and people loved the tiny portraits. And now I have reopened the bigger portraits, the 8 by 10, the 10 by 10, the 16 by 20. The bigger portraits, the bigger paintings are now available again because I am more efficient, because I looked at my strengths and weaknesses, and then I taught myself what I needed to do better. So the tiny portrait series that I did, I have done over 40 tiny portraits. In doing so, I have better understood color theory, composition. They gave me so much confidence as an artist. And they allowed me to help me find my flow, making painting efficient. Overall, the tiny portraits that I have done, the tiny portrait series, has helped things to just really click overall. And I started those tiny paintings last year, but only the beginning of this year did I start to actually overcome my fear of reaching out to people and finally start making my own opportunities happen. The thing is, when I was younger, I used to also think that formal training meant graduating from an art school or an art program. You probably have heard me say I'm a self-taught artist too. And though it's really true that I have taught myself plenty of art, as I just told you my whole story and all the things that I have taught myself, there's still plenty that I have learned through teachers, through workshops and mentorships and classes and online courses. And even the 2 teachers I had from 4th grade all the way to high school graduation, even though it was 2 teachers, and I do believe that does limit it, they still taught me things. I still learned a lot of basics with them. I still learned a lot of shading, perspectives. I was challenged in a way that I wasn't challenged by anyone else, but I was challenged by the teachers. And so there's still a lot of value, and that is still a formal training. At least now, I believe that's still a formal training. And I feel like it just feels wrong to say that I'm a totally self-taught artist when that's just not the case. It is kind of invalidating to the teachers and the people who have helped me, who have contributed to where I am now. Even if it was in small ways, there has been people who have influenced my life and my skills, and without them, I might not be where I am today in my skills. And I also believe that most artists who say that they're self-taught are actually a combination of both. Because even if you attend an art class, a workshop, an online course, or any of those things, you're technically taught by at least one person, and that person did contribute at least something to your abilities too. One of the biggest things I want you to take from this self-taught artist conversation is that being an artist doesn't mean that you have to be an artist who went through college to be a professional artist. If you want to be in a gallery, you do not have to have that degree. If you want to be a successful professional artist, you do not need that degree backing you up. It does not make you any less. The data backs you up that you do not need that to be a successful working artist. You can also have training in so many other ways. There's so many different platforms and mediums to be able to just learn what you want to learn. But to be successful, there's a lot more in between. You have to have the determination, the motivation, you have to know what you want to do, you have to figure it out, and you have to have the courage to figure it out even when it's hard and to keep going even when it's hard. And that's one of the hardest things of being an artist, is to just keep on pushing. And sometimes that is why an art graduate might not do anything with an art degree, because you go through the whole program, you go through the whole college degree, and you get the degree that everybody says is going to get you a job, and you don't just get the job because you miss something important. You have to ask for the opportunity, and that is a skill and something that business owners are taught, or something that business owners learn the hard way on their own. Before we wrap up the education talk, I want to just clarify something. I'm not saying that you should not go to college or that you shouldn't have an education in art. And I'm not saying that it's not useful. There are lots of reasons why people should go and get an art degree and why it is a good idea. Even for me, I actually do have an art program that I am very interested in attending. It's a 12-month online course and is a mastery program. And it would be focused on drawing, painting for the acrylic paints and oil paints. But it's also not necessary for me to just get started and create and sell and just start to figure it out on my own anyways. The point is, you don't need to wait for it to happen. You don't need to wait until you have the opportunity to finally do the schooling that you want to do. And you don't have to have any type of schooling to be successful or to make an income with your art in the first place. I want to make it very, very clear that I am not against art education or getting an education at all. But I am trying to drive the point that a traditional art college doesn't necessarily equal the path to becoming a professional artist or being a professional in a creative field. What matters outside of just education is motivation, passion, determination, practice, and actually doing the work. Actually doing the things that also scare you too. And there's so many ways to learn. You have your traditional colleges, but you also have other type of specialty programs. You have workshops, you have classes outside of that, courses you can take their specialty for what you're looking for. Then you have videos, books, and even independent practice. You doing it yourself and you figuring it out as you go. Honestly, most of us probably learn from a combination of those things. But remember, just an art education, an art degree, does not equal a successful art career. All right, let's get into what's happening at Rice the Art-Holic. I have 2 classes coming up at Merlot and a Masterpiece this month. First one is going to be Saturday, August 22nd. It's at 2:45 p.m. and this is a pick your own painting class. So you pick any of the paintings around in Merlot and a Masterpiece, and I'm there to help guide you if you have any questions or you need any guidance to create it, or just create it on your own if you want to. I'm there so you can use my knowledge as much as you like. Then that next day I will be doing this month is Friday, August 28th. That class is going to start at 6 p.m. And the painting we are going to be working on is Watching the Waves. Watching the waves, we are going to go step by step and I will be painting it with you so you can see every step of the way. And if you have any questions, again, I'm still there to help answer them, and you can still use all the knowledge I have while you're there for your 2 hours. Lastly, I do have some fall workshop designs that I have just created and still am creating. And so if you would like to have a private party where we're painting together, we can host a party of 4 to 12 people. Most of the designs have outlines. When you pick your design, it does tell you if there's an outline provided or if there's not an outline provided, and which designs can be used for a 16 by 20 painting or which ones are only for an 8 by 10 painting. More about the pricing for private parties and how to schedule the private party is on my online shop on my Ko-fi page. Now, I talked a lot about my memories in my art journey, and I would love to hear a little bit about yours too. Think back to some of the art lessons that you've had in your life. What is 1 or 2 memories that come to mind that really affected your creativity and made you feel like that it's a big impact on your creative skills? It could be good or it could be bad. I'd love to hear in the comments what your memories in your art journey has been. Thank you so much for listening or watching if you've made it this far. Don't forget to follow me so that you don't miss any new podcasts that come out. I also have my email list. You can sign up for that so you don't miss out on any new information or things happening at Rice the Art-Holic. And don't forget that the comment section is open. I read the comments and I am happy to respond back to you. If you have any questions, concerns, or you want me to talk about something in the next podcast, that's a great place to put that. Thank you all again so much for watching. Stay curious, keep creating, and I'll see you next time.